It's been almost 4 years since the Australian government launched the federal intervention in Northern Territory Aboriginal communities. One Indigenous leader from northeast Arnhem Land, Reverend Jiniini Gondara, has taken his fight to end the policy to the United Nations in Geneva. The senior elder from Elcho Island is also using an international film festival in London to show the rest of the world what he says is a policy steeped in racial discrimination. Emma Masters reports from London.
Aboriginal senior elder Jiniini Gondara wants the federal intervention to end immediately. With fire in his belly and clapsticks in hand, he's taking his message all the way from his remote Arnhem Land community on Elcho Island to the bustling streets of London.
The Northern Territory government, and in Australia particularly, are doing very bad things for the First People. We need your help. We need you to walk with us.
Dr. Gondara says the federal intervention violates the basic human rights of Aboriginal people, and he wants the world to know.
The land grab without negotiation, the income management quarantining for the families, it is going back to the 50s, where Aboriginal people are still living in poverty and hunger.
He's gone straight to the highest levels of the United Nations. During a stopover in Geneva before he arrived in London, Dr. Gondara met with various UN officials, including the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay.
I was impressed about being there and sharing with her and highlighting some of the concern that before she travelled to Australia.
Only this week, as a result of her meeting in Geneva with Dr. Gondara, Ms Pillay decided to begin her Australian tour with a visit to Darwin. The High Commissioner met with Chief Minister Paul Henderson and local Indigenous leaders.
This is my first meeting. I still want to do a full visit to Australia before I have conclusions, but I can report to you what they said to me this afternoon is that things have gone worse. There's greater discrimination against them.
Dr. Gondara has also turned to the cinematic screen to tell his story. He features in a film that's made its international premiere at a documentary festival in London last weekend.
It's a sad story, but that story needs to be told.
The documentary is described as an explosive examination of the federal intervention and Indigenous relations in Australia.
It is interventionist, I accept that, but what matters more? The constitutional niceties or the care and protection of young children?
Whilst declaring the Little Children a Sacred Report as cause for emergency action, the government ignored nearly all of its 97 recommendations.
I was shocked. That was not the response that one would expect to such a sensitive issue.
As people opened up and shared their feelings, they brought into the picture the wider issues that they see are also important, like the issues of sovereignty, treaty, just in general how government policy is controlling their lives.
Our Generations director says she was inspired to make the film while working on Elcho Island as a teacher.
I realised very quickly that things weren't right, and then going in and out, from Elcho Island down to Sydney, down to Melbourne, I felt like my friends and family down in Melbourne didn't really know what was happening.
The earth will not vanish. That's the law.
What struck us about the film was A, that it was well made, and that it was formally and a good film. But the way that it engaged, as I say, with an issue, one which we felt wasn't well enough known, especially in the UK.
For many who saw the film in London, it was an eye-opener.
Were you aware of the situation in Australia before you saw this film?
Yeah, I was, but not that it was still going on quite as badly as it seems to be. So, yeah, I've learned a lot from it.
I actually was, but I didn't know it was as bad. Yeah, it's quite surprising, and it's so good that they made this film.
They're humans and they're beautiful and they're in pain. It makes me feel pain.
While the general response from the crowd was shock and, for some, tears, some critics in Australia have attacked the film as being one-sided. However, the filmmakers make no apology for their rallying call to action.
We were always conscious about moving people and directing them in somewhere, and directing them somewhere where they feel like they can take action.
For the filmmakers and Dr. Gondera, it's a pivotal moment as their message begins to spread its wings and take flight.
For me, the most honourable thing is having, Dr. Gondera here with us, because I'm not the messenger. I'm just the filmmaker.
It's a moving experience for me, and looking forward that this is now being launched here in United Kingdom, and to show the global community about the struggle for Aboriginal people.